All right, welcome back to Agent Tactics. It is another Thursday. I am Jeremy Knight, your lovely host. This week, I have an amazing guest in Martin here. We've gone back a long ways. Anytime I have like an investment that I have coming up or I'm working with a developer, I usually ask him questions first. And I think a lot of us as agents are always looking for new ways to get business and grow our business and have consistent business. This month alone, or last month closed 5 million in real estate. It's got what, 50 million in the pipeline with these developers, maybe more. And it's because he's been working with developers. So I want to talk to him today, and I want you to talk to him as well. How do we connect with developers? How do we grow our business where we have consistent business coming in? And what do we need to know, right? Because I think a lot of us in this business don't do things because of fear. Whatever it is, I don't want to make these
Hmm.
calls today because I'm scared of what somebody's going to say. I don't know how to talk to this developer because I'm going to sound like a fool. So he's going to give us the whole enchilada, no
Whoa,
pun
it's a
intended
lot.
there, big guy, on how to actually do this the right way. Martin, welcome, buddy.
Appreciate you, Jeremy. I really do. I've actually been asking you to be on this call for like a year now, so I'm glad I actually got brought up to the big leagues.
The
So I
big
appreciate
leagues,
that.
yes, yes. You're hitting home runs now, so we can bring you up.
Yeah.
All right, man. So give us, I know I didn't do the best job of giving you an intro on what you do. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing and how you've kind of grown your business.
So for the last 12 years, I've been more of a residential agent, and I actually had a pretty impactful call with one of my good buddies in Vegas, and he's all like, "Man, I want to be a developer." And I was all like, "Ah, yeah, I know some developers here in San Antonio, Texas." And I told him, I said, "Yeah, no, absolutely. Let's dive into it." Well, I didn't know what I was pretty much getting myself into because what I did is I ended up going a full commitment. And what that full commitment looked like is I had to understand the way the developer's brain worked. I had to understand exactly what they go through in the day-to-day basis. I had to understand what the financing looked like when a deal actually made sense. And now we're at the point where we understand what developers are thinking, that we understand their risk tolerance, because risk tolerance in developments are super widespread. If you think buying one investment property is big, when you're looking at a 5-year project that's going to be $100 million, and you got to take that first big step or even pitch it to the banks in order to get financing for it. There's a lot that goes into it, and because there's a lot that goes into it, you have to take care of it with care. So for the last, like I said, 12 years, I've been more on the residential side. Now we're pivoting into more development commercial. And the great thing about it is that you would think, oh, well, there's so many people doing all these amazing things, but realistically, there's so much opportunity out there because, like, if you guys have had issues trying to get a hold of an agent, it's very common right now. So just being able to pick up the phone and answer simple questions is going to put you ahead of the curve, especially, especially in my market. Um, but what I could also tell you is that with a lot of these developers, just the intro of it is they have desires to move their money around. And there could be that starting off developer where they want to go into big luxury units like apartment complexes. There's hotel developers, there's land developers, there's retail developers. So it's kind of just understanding which route you want to go in, and knowing how to capitalize and speak with them, right? So like Jeremy, he's super huge in Austin, and he knows so many developers, he knows so many influential people. So like him being positioned in certain spots in wherever he is in Austin is having him have those conversations too. And it's just really like, hey, what are you into now? Starting those conversations is what projects are you working on? And guess what they're gonna do? They're gonna be like, well, come on, Jeremy, come join me and check out this project. And then, Jeremy does a really great job recording and having his videographer in place, just giving them their flowers, like, oh my God, this is gonna be an amazing project, is a good stepping stone on going into those conversations.
So let's yeah, I want to start there actually. So I'm an agent in Houston. My name is Chase Giles, and I want to get in with more developers. Where do I start? Like, what is the ground floor? What do I need to know? Who do I start talking to? Where's my starting point?
So I think the best starting point is, are we understanding that they want to develop land or they want to develop an ex existing project? So I would start there. Understand where you want to position yourself, especially for your client's sake.
Okay.
So that's ground
So
level.
let's say I run into a developer who wants to develop like a bunch of duplexes in like they have like 10 acres and they want to throw
Mhm.
as much land and as much buildings in there. Maybe they want to buy 10. Let's say they want to do like a multifamily play, right?
Yeah.
So what do I need to start learning?
So I would understand the economics as far as that development, and to what type of rental comps are you going to get. But even before then, I would check to see if there's already performing duplexes in those areas, and or is there land available for duplex that's multifamily. So whenever a developer takes down a plot of land, they have to get with their engineering, so that way whenever they have their zoning requirements, they're gonna have that set up. So like there is quite a few of multifamilies here in San Antonio. But the zoning doesn't come around that often. Most builders in our market are looking for single fam. But if a developer's looking to go in and say take down 15 acres and develop a duplex community, at that point is just making sure they get with the proper engineers, make sure that the buildings that they want to build on those properties, those lots are going to be the size that they need them to be. And then one of the big things a lot of developers like they struggle with is tapping into a sewer if there's a nearby community. So that's one of the big ones. So if you can overcome that or already have a exit strategy for these developers, because these developments, they're not instantly being turned over like a traditional sell. Like when you're committing to working with the developer, you're committing for the next 3 years, and even that next 3 years to actually get a payment. Like you might have sold them the land, but whenever you either turn around and sell these duplexes for them, you're probably looking after engineering, environmental studies for the land, having the going through the bank, getting the funding for it, getting the infrastructure built in on it, and then also turning dirt. You're probably looking at about 18 months before you turn dirt.
So everything you're saying is so foreign to Chase. Chase has no idea what you're saying. Um, and Chase, I'm just covering for myself by saying your name. So like all of that is very intimidating to realtors, right? Like
It
that's
is.
a lot of information. It's not as easy as here's a house, we're going to price it at this price, we're going to put it on the market, we're going to make some silly videos, shake our ass, do some TikToks, twerk in a house, and then it'll sell, right? So where is the actual starting point? Where do I need to educate myself on all the things you just said? Because you're talking about land and you're talking about uh, all this crap that
Yep.
is not crap, but it's like stuff we just don't understand. Where do I start educating myself on what you're actually even talking about?
Yeah, so I think going to a development that's already in the process of either being built and asking that developer those questions. When did you purchase the land? How long did it take you to go through the infrastructure process? Were you planning on selling lots or were you planning on building for yourself? I think that's the best place to start.
Okay. And so when I'm sorry, so I see a development, I meet the developer. What are the exact questions that I ask this developer when I go in there? How do I even sweet talk him to even get in there?
So a lot of times I like giving compliments. I'm real big. I think I gave you more than your fair compliments for the year. And we
Don't
got
worry,
to
the
that
check's in the mail. Don't worry.
So I think like just giving kudos where kudos are needed, right? So a lot of times that industry is like very cutthroat. So especially if they have grants for usage of that land. So if they're getting anything from the city, people are usually going for those parcels of land to develop. So the big challenge with it is that it is a very cutthroat industry. So whenever you're able to give that developer their flowers, at that point their guard now becomes down because they've been so in tune with competition. Now they're in tune like, all right, Jeremy's not that bad of a guy. Like, okay, cool. Yeah, yeah, come meet me over here. And you'll be surprised. You'll have more people say, yeah, just come on. Let me show you what I'm doing. Then people be like, hey, go kick bricks because they want to show and tell. Their egos are big, right? And most people that have these big developments, they usually want to show off their product. They usually like, somebody has a super nice car. They want to show it off. They're not trying to just hide it in the garage, right? And that's kind of the same thing as developers. They're very proud of what they're building.
Chase has an airplane. In fact, Chase just got his pilot's license.
Hell yeah.
Congratulations, sir. Welcome to the aviation community that I once was a part of, but no longer am in. It's too expensive. All right. Okay. So, all right. I'm going to the developer. I'm smoozing them up like, oh, it's a beautiful product. How do I initiate a conversation to start understanding how they came up with their margins, how they came up, what are the big hurdles, what are the exact questions that I should start asking? Because I want to get in development. I want to sell
Yeah.
$100 million in development deals next year, like you do. I want to be a big boy. All right, how do I put on the big boy pants? What are the questions I ask?
So this is a really great question, and it's a little bit of reverse engineering. What's a good deal for you? Ask them. Why was this such a great deal? Not necessarily like, hey, what did it cost you? How much money are you in it? Like, what would make it a deal for you? And guess what? A lot of times it'd be like, well, when I was originally looking at the land, I saw that it was 50 acres and I felt that about 20% of it was going to be on retention pond and they'll start going through it all. Now, unless you're very familiar with that type of verbiage, it's very difficult to ask those bigger questions, those confident questions, right? Because even if they gave you like at the very early stages of me working with developers, there were some terms that I had to go back and ask ChatGPT, right? And I was like, hey, what is the meaning behind this? What is the purpose? And okay, well, when is this executed based off of these timelines? And when I started to see is that don't jump into these conversations knowing that you can't carry on the conversation. I think Chase has a question.
Yeah, kind of in that same note, did you start this by basically looking at, you know, I assume you're probably not going to DR Horton, right? And
So
like,
we've tried working with DR Horton in the past. So yes, we did have LOIs from DR Horton when we were selling land. So yes, we have.
awesome. So do you think a potential avenue for somebody wanting to get started in this would be to look at a smaller developer who has sold, bought a bunch of duplexes, or sorry, bought land,
Mhm.
developed duplexes, sold those, then approaching that person and saying, what is your buy box, right?
Yep.
And then eventually, and then go start trying to source land for them and develop the relationship there? Or is this more of like what do you need from a marketing perspective? They're like, hey, we've got this new section. I mean,
Yeah.
those probably run in tandem. But if you were starting out trying to earn their business, trying to, wine and dine them a little bit, which one have you experienced is more beneficial?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So I would say having that product, to display, put it on the shelf, kind of like we're showing off our toys, right? Be like, hey, so you're doing great, and let's say it's a development that they've already had, like, hey, that was a home run development, wasn't it? And a lot of times, whenever these developers will do their first deal, they're like, oh my God, like Chase, this was a fucking nightmare. Sorry for cousin. But this was an absolute nightmare. These are all the things that I had to go through in order to do it. Like I had troubles with the city. I had troubles with the contractors, the infrastructure. Like my bank caught the no 2 months before I was finished. Like so now you're over here starting. Okay, so I know that we need to execute quicker. I know that we have to have all these feasibility studies done sooner. And now you say, well, do you having any troubles with your current development? And then finding those pain points. And then say, okay, well, if you were to buy or look into another development, what are challenges that you want to try to avoid?
Mm.
And then you get into those conversations, and a lot of it is, we kind of learned this last week, is just asking 1,000 little questions, right? And not being too annoying, but get to the point where you're getting into that next conversation and you're moving the conversation to where it may be. So whenever you're reaching out to developers, have a value proposition as far as maybe a parcel of land, a hotel you want them to purchase, or something around those lines. So that way they're all like, all right, Chase is not just calling me, asking me 1,000 questions. He's asking me questions before he even sends me a potential property that I may not even entertain anything, or it may be a home run for me. But then you know exactly what to pitch these certain developers. So we can narrow it down, but we could also have a big buy box that you know if a deal is going to make sense. Like there's this one big development in San Antonio. It's bankrupt like 8 times. And when the last person called me and they brought up the development, I didn't even want to get involved because I knew it was a loser. It was an absolute loser. First guy went in there, didn't get permits from the city, started building houses, didn't even have roads. They've probably sunk in over $20 million in this project, and they were selling it for like 3 million. And somebody still had to come in and throw another 10 million. I would avoid trying to pitch that project to a developer of mine to save me all the headache in the future.
Of
Right.
course.
So it's
So
having
if
the
you
negative
if
effect.
you then, tie up a parcel of land, you help them purchase it,
Mhm.
or you're doing this for about a year or 2 years, right? I'm just saying
Mhm.
if I started and,
Yep.
got some traction, right?
Mhm.
In your experience, what has the like average price, not even price, but like number of homes sold? I mean, is your end game basically one earning, helping them or purchase the land, but then also now in scale and volume list the development? And what have you seen that number kind of end up being for you?
Correct. So like right now, I'll give you an example. There's this builder that I used to just sell his single family residential houses. Now they've moved up in the scales. Now they're doing land purchases. They moved out of San Antonio, came back to San Antonio. They need a sales force. I could build a sales force around the product that they want to sell. So it's not only one being able to source the land for them, help them purchase that, but that's one way to get payment as a realtor. And then you're gonna help them with the infrastructure, right? And then get the right people in place. And they might have some people that they want to use. But the other thing too is once they go vertical on those houses, being able to sell that product too. And that's where those $100 million developments will come into play, where they can be 300 to $500,000 sales price houses. They could be $2 to $4 million sales prices. Just depending on how the development is going to be positioned, you're gonna know, okay, these are the people that I'm gonna have to prepare for. This is going to be my sales department. This is going to be what commission's going to look like. This is going to be what it's going to cost them. And a lot of times they got smarter people and bigger attorneys than we do, right? So they're going to do their due diligence on their side. So depending on if it's smaller developer, you want to be that resource for them. Bigger developer, they already have their people that are going to fact check everything that you just presented. So
As the sales side grew with, you know, you have to list 100 homes, right? 200 houses with these developers. What were some of the first hires that you did in your company to
admin.
exactly deal with that demand? And then like what were they, I mean, I guess more specifically, like what were some of their roles? I mean, admin's important. That'll cover a
Yeah.
lot of things, but what did that look like for your team?
Yeah, so admin, so we had two admins when we were developing with developers. We had one year I think we sold like 36 houses with that one builder. And what we did is we had two sales agents and one of them was stronger than the other. But realistically, like and two, I'm not just saying it because I see a lot of real in the background, but you can also leverage a lot of it with the broker. So that's one thing that I like to do. I like displaying a product for a developer, but I like to have all my agents kind of back me up on it. Because if they can use that for marketing to generate a sell, then I want them to win on that aspect too. So whenever I do speak to the developers, I don't necessarily approach and say, "Hey, you're just getting me, Martin. You're also getting 1,000 other agents that we have in this market that pushes product every single day." So that's another kind of way you could get into the door where you can leverage your community to help you get into those doors.
Is there anything you're doing regarding marketing, floor plans, that kind of stuff for the builder that is different than maybe your competition?
So not technically. I'm the type that you got to keep it simple. Like what's going to help move and sell a product. So what do people like? They like great curb appeal, great locations, and then two, if you can throw in some incentives or some little goodies in there, that's what people want. They want to feel good whenever they're coming into these developments. Making sure like if you're developing a brand new development, so there's sometimes you can represent developers in an established neighborhood. And that's another great way to start. You can either buy paper lots or you can buy um, uh, finished lots, right? And there's two different styles. So if you're trying to bring a builder,
What's the difference between a paper lot and a finished lot?
yeah, great question. So the difference between a paper lot is that they have not yet been engineered. So that means the streets are not in yet. They're heavily discounted, but the reason why they do paper lots for a developer is because they say, hey, Jeremy and his group ABC builders is going to buy 15 of my lots at X amount of dollars. And off of those X amount of dollars, the bank will come and say, okay, great. Now we could develop those roads. So the people that buy the paper lots, they could hire us to finish the infrastructure, do the sidewalks, build the streets, fire hydrants, water, electrical, do all that stuff, and they could pay the premium price or they can do it themselves. So the do it themselves is the paper lots. They buy it with intentions to build them all out. But the second thing is the finished lots would be utilities are already on site. You can go to any lot and say, hey, I want this one, this one, this one, this one. Okay, great. The developer will say, these are the pricing for each one of them. And then you can turn dirt as soon as you get your engineering's done for the house that you want to build. And that's the difference. But paper lots are usually a third of the cost of a finished lot.
Let's talk some financials. What does this look like from a fee structure since you're working in volume and maybe it looks
Yeah.
differently, now for you because you've got a brand name, but how has it evolved and
Yeah.
what should somebody expect that's looking to do this?
So I haven't charged less than 3%. So everything I have done has been either at 3% or higher. And the reason I say higher is because I let them know from the early stages, hey, we're about to go on a journey for the next 2 years, what that's gonna look like, and then I'll paint a picture. This is exactly what we're gonna go through. And we're gonna go through it all together. Neither one of us are gonna make money towards the end. So because of that, I can't discount my services even if they're buying 1,000 lots, right? Or they're gonna buy a 150-acre development. It has to make sense for us. Because if not, we can go through easier pastures and not have to go through all the BS. So I would stay very firm on that because they're gonna say, "Oh, well, so and so could do it for less." Okay, great. Well, if you need any help, let me know. I'm here. But that's this is a long ways away. And two, a lot of these developments they take forever. And like once you get to the end, you're like, man, this kind of sucked. Like it was a lot of work for this money, and now that you have it, you're like, all right, on to the next one. But for the most part, I could tell you that they are just great cherries on top of whatever business that you're already doing. But also just driving by and say, hey, I helped develop that. And I think that's where like us as, entrepreneur spirit realtors would be like, hey, I had a part of all that. So I think that's kind of one of the big things too. Um, so yeah, but no, fee structure at least 3%. If I've charged 10% before. So parcel of land. So it just really depends. Like right now, I'm selling a 122-acre development in an up and coming area. It's like 3.5 million. I'm charging them 8% because I know it's what it's going to take. It's going to take at least a year worth of work.
So if I want to start getting these connections right, like I don't have developers in my Rolodex. I don't have I don't even know where to start with buying land. I'm trying to speak to the agents that's just starting this
Just starting.
journey, right? Jeff McElroy here in Austin has done a phenomenal job of doing this. So where do I even start with finding the developers? Where do I like? I don't know what I'm doing. I'm used to just selling residential, right? Where do I actually like start? Who do I go to? What do I like? What forums do I go to? How do
Mhm.
I get in there?
So I think this is a great place to start, right? So about a year ago, I started looking into what I wanted my business to look like from just a standpoint. Selling general real estate has been a good starting stone, especially for a lot of the agents that are working. But I said, hey, I want to start selling higher end developments, higher end product, which is over 1 million here in San Antonio. So then I said, okay, well, who's designing, who's building these out? So funny enough, I've actually fake text Jeremy and my other Jeremy, that's the designer. Like I said, hey, hey, you ready for this weekend or whatever? And then the guys are like, what's going on this weekend? But anyways, he's one of the top designers for San Antonio, the Hill Country. So attached to people just like that. So he knows the people that are building. So he knows builders. He knows other developers that are doing the same thing. So have an architect, have a designer, have somebody that's passionate of what they're doing. And that was a great big stepping stone in my business because he was able to align me with other people that want the exact same thing. So what he ended up doing is he set up personally appointments so that way I could go meet with some of these developers. So I didn't have to reinvent the wheel. He was already on the wheel. I just had to go in there with him, and we started doing it together. And we set up appointments. They spoke the language, say, hey, these are the things that we're doing right now, and we're excited to do it. And I started just asking all these questions. So have someone that can make these connections because I've been super big on triangle of trust in my business, and I love having those personal connections and getting thrown on group texts and whatnot, so that way I can get to those meetings. And those meetings is when you're just gonna let them do all the talking. So for an agent that's jumping into this for the first time, find someone that is already doing either development or the type of business that you want to see. Pretty easy, right?
Well, it's easy for you to say. So one thing you said talked about ChatGPT. What would you if I was gonna get involved in this and I wanted the playbook for it, right? What would I ask GPT? Cheat, I like that. I'm gonna change it to Cheat GPT.
Cheat
What would
GPT.
you ask Cheat GPT?
Um, so there's different types of developments.
Okay,
You have to be very direct on what type of development
give me
you want
examples.
to do. Let's say you want to develop lots. That's one part of it.
What does that mean, develop lots? I'm trying to get super granular here, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So what does that mean, develop
So,
lots?
so let's say we brought up D.R. Horton.
Okay.
D.R. Horton, what they do is they buy a parcel of land, they create a master plan community. So what they do is when they go to their engineers and say, hey, this is what we want out of this parcel of lot. We want to fit 1,000 home sites here. We want amenity centers. We want walking trails. We need to make sure we have a retention pond. They're going to go to their engineers based off of this parcel of land. They say, here, there you go. Do make lots for us, right? And then what that engineer's supposed to do is he's going to go through the aesthetics of that lot, and then he's going to give you exactly what he can perform out of it. So that's one part of development, developing lots for houses to be built. Okay. There's also commercial development that usually tends to be smaller acreage or larger acreage, just really depend on what you want to build. So, like a prime example, you can get a half an acre lot and then build a shopping strip. So you want to know, okay, am I going to be a retail developer? So where I'm buying the land and I'm developing retail. I got to know exactly what ADA requirements are going to be needed. So you could ask ChatGPT, what exactly do I need to do to build a retail shopping center? And it'll show you everything, like absolutely everything. You need ADA walkways. If you got steps or you have a second floor, the city may require an elevator. Um, Wider doorways. You could also lean on your developer or your engineer so that way they could build that out for you too. So, And then there's also if you want to do multifamily development. Multifamily development, whatever type of zoning that is, you need to make sure that it would fit the mode of the area that you're wanting to build these multifamilies in. Um, that's another one. So you ask ChatGPT, hey, I want to build 800 door apartment complex. What do I have to do in order to accomplish that? There's also industrial, right? There's industrial developments where I-1 is like gold right now. If you can find land with industrial one, that's absolute gold. You could retrofit that in different types of business. It's nuts. And it's very scarce right now, especially in big metropolitan areas. And then there's hotel developments, and then there's with apartment complexes, you could also do like assistant livings, and then there's like sports complexes that you could also do. There's like maybe six, seven of them that are out there. So just be very direct on what type of development you would want to add. Ask Chat GPT so that way you know exactly what you're going to get out of it.
Love it. All right. I'm gonna open this up to more questions. So I feel like maybe I'm asking dumb questions. Edgar, Billy, what do you got? Jorge, what do you got? Jaime Knight. What question? You're the only faces I can see. If you're anybody else on here, drop a comment in the comment section there, or just straight up unmute yourself and ask. Come on, Edgar. Don't be shy, Edgar. I'm looking right at you, bro. Just unmute, ask the question. Oh, look at that.
There you go. I don't know what I'm pressing here. Sorry about that. No, thanks for asking the question, because that's kind of what I was leaning towards, like not trying to be elementary or whatnot. But yeah, what was a good starting point? If there was any like local um, associations where these builders, I'm sorry, developers do tend to hang out, or what is a good place to go. Yesterday, I tried to be out in the golf course trying to get somebody out there to see who's speaking. That investment became one of those topics. I'm just trying to see what are some other, I guess, going like if you don't know anybody, where you can kind of go and hang out.
So let me ask you a question. What style of development are you most interested in?
It's again, right, just defining, and that's why I wanted to jump on this one here big time to find out who is it, because everybody always wants to go for the big fish, right? Like I want to get in there, somebody who has money, but then you can also be that one that's working with maybe smaller developers that you want to bring into the game that become these big fish, and then you
Yep.
just become that guy, right? And that's kind of what I would probably want to start with. And so to begin there is defining that. So, and granted, I'm barely trying to dive into this, but who would, I guess, be an attraction piece there that I would consider someone small and where I
Mhm.
can go find them, or do I go create one, basically?
Yeah, so I think a great place to start, and I know you're in El Paso, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so El Paso is just blowing up, right?
Hmm.
So I would ask, so a lot of times you're gonna notate who the big developers are, right? And a lot of times you can also find out who the designer on the project was. So who's the one that engineered that product for them? And I would start there. Because if you want to go play with the big boys, you need that introduction. They're not just going to let you walk into their office and think you could run the show. So one of the things I would do is have a connection point, find a mutual person that could get you linked up with them. And that works all the time. If you're looking to do like a development, like where they're new construction luxury builds, because I see you guys are just blowing up with a lot of the luxury style home builds that are being in your area. I would also reach out to who's actually building a lot of these developments, because what you could do is you can start off where who's building the houses, but then who are they buying the land from? And then maybe even use that as a gateway to talk to those developers. Hey, you built this amazing development here in this area. Are you looking to develop any other areas, or are you going to focus on this project long term? And you can start to ask these questions to help know okay, is it time to pitch them a project, or hey, do you know any other developers that might be looking for a project like this? And then have them be that connection for you, so that way you can you can build on your reputation in this world. Because like you mentioned, you went to the golf course, you wanted to see who was shakers and movers. Okay, well, great. Who
Right.
can I get connected there? And that's ultimately how you can build it. Like I haven't been doing it that long, and honestly, I didn't even want to do it. My
Yeah.
buddy is like, "Hey, Martin, I want to develop shit in Texas. Y'all have all this land. We ran out of land here in Vegas, and I just want to be a developer." And I said, "Okay, great. I have to think like a developer. What do I have to do?" So what it did, it forced me to reach out to attorneys. That was a big one. Who are the attorneys that are drawing up all these legal descriptions? Because title companies have a big involvement in it. So I started reaching out to them. I started reaching out to who's actually turning the dirt. And I said, hey, can you meet with me and my buddy? He wants to get into the developments here. I started looking at retail development, commercial development, land development, and people that are building these massive houses. And what I did is I looked at each one of them to see which one I want to go through. And it's weird because like I had like I'll kind of jump off topic for a bit, but because I started focusing more on commercial and development, I had
Hmm.
well, there's a big popular mall here in San Antonio that it pretty much just went for sale. I get a call last Friday and they're like, "Hey, we want to buy a parcel of it." And I was like, "All right, cool. Send me the address." And I look it up. It's like almost $7 million project. And I was all like, all right, they're paying 3%. Like I can make quick money off of that and make take 3 months, but it's something that I can jump into. But what the beautiful part about it is when you start creating these actions, these opportunities, and you semi show it on social media, having that audience, those connectors, there's people always looking. They might not like, they might not comment, but they will always remember Edgar knew about that property. Edgar brought this product. Edgar's doing this. And what it does is they're not seeing anybody else doing it. So who else are they going to call but Edgar? So I like using those connections and the successes socially in order to get those opportunities. And you'll be surprised. Like half the shit that I've done this year has not it has all been an accident. Just because I was intentional on making sure I was putting the product out there. And then calling. Man, I don't know how many times I've pitched Jeremy deals. I was like, hey, do you know anybody? I don't say, hey, are you interested? I say, hey, do you know anybody that's looking for a hotel? And last Friday, I think Jeremy threw me in a group message with this guy that's looking to buy a hotel. Like have the product, put it in front of them, and then that's another way that you can also jump into those conversations too.
I mean, don't you think the other way too is like, hey, I don't have product yet, but I'm always searching for stuff. This is an area I want to really break into. What metrics do you need from me if I were to bring you a good piece of land?
Oh, that's a really great question. And I would say, okay, well, if I'm the developer and I'm saying, hey, right now I have a client looking to build assisted living facilities. I'm gonna need a MF33 lot that's big enough for parking as well as for a 10,000 square foot facility. So I'm gonna need at least 5 acres. You simplified it. Now you narrowed it down. So now Jeremy knows exactly what I'm looking for. Edgar knows exactly what I'm looking for. Billy knows exactly what I'm looking for. And then you have the in buyers for them too.
There's a lot of elderly people in El Paso, Edgar. I think we need to go that route, buddy.
So
Yes, sir.
I'll tell you this. Anybody that wants to get in, this is how I got it. And I got into it by accident, right? Complete accident. I was speaking to one of my clients. He was telling me he's doing super well. He sold his medical business and he's all like, I'm getting into group home housing. And then I was all like, all right, well, what the hell is that? Right? Like just clueless. And everybody is there, right? And then I told him, I said, all right, well, so what is that? And he said, well, right now in Texas, there's over 3,600 kids that are displaced. And I was all like, okay, when you say displaced, where are they at? They're like, they're in hotel rooms. And I was all like, oh, wow, that's insane. And what are you doing? He said, well, we need to place them somewhere. Because right now, the state is paying $400 every single day for them to live there in the hotel room. They pay for, because they have to have a cop there, because usually the social worker is responsible for, just keeping eyes on that kid. And it's a very delicate topic. And I said, well, let me ask you a question. What is it that you need to do, or what type of, like, I don't know what kind of building that is. So then I go to ChatGPT. I say, hey, ChatGPT, I have kids that are in group homes. What type of zoning development or what kind of buildings would we need in order to transition them? And they said, very comparable to assisted living facilities. So then I started asking people with assistant living facilities, be like, hey, are you interested in selling your property? I have someone that wants to spend up to 5 million bucks, right? And then that accidentally, that's exactly how I got started with it. And then those assisted livings turned into hotels, and those hotels are turning into like 180 unit developments. And then now I got connected with someone that wants to buy land and build like a fleet of assisted living facilities, because in San Antonio, there's very few good ones and there's a shitload of bad ones. So a lot of the bad ones, those are usually the ones that are having a little better opportunity to go after and be like, hey, if I were to bring you an offer for this amount, would you consider selling your business, selling your assisted living facility? A lot of times they're always cash flowing. So it's easier to pitch an operating business to a developer than scratch business, because they could turn income right away. So yeah. So make
Very
it
good.
simplify it to exactly what kind of land parcel you're gonna need. And then that honestly would be the same thing. So like I could tell you, people that are in hotels are not too far away from people that are developing apartment complexes, right? People that are doing retail are not too far away for people that are doing assisted living facilities, right? So just identify exactly, like, make it so narrow and then capitalize as quick as you can. Find the opportunities, bring those clients. Hey, I want you to come and meet this person. At that point, that other person that was not really thinking about selling is now thinking about selling, because you're bringing value. You're bringing people that are shopping. And they're all like, oh shit. Like, I have one right now, it's $5 million project. And they're all like, honestly, Martin, I didn't think you were going to be able to sell it. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, why wouldn't I want to sell? You think I just want to like waste time? He's all like, nah, I didn't really think you were gonna sell it, so I didn't plan on selling it ever. This is my family's business. I said, well, what are you gonna do? You're about to hit the lotto, $5 million. He built it for 1.2 million. He's gonna make 3.8 million. He's like, I don't know. But then
Yeah, you got those taxes though. They creep up there pretty quick.
guess what I did? I reached out to my CPA and I said, hey, I got a tax problem for one of my clients. So we were able to structure it where we did a seller finance deal. So he's only going to receive 1.6 million upfront, 8% interest rate. So he's making like $24,000 of passive income every single month. No longer has to run the business. So I'm using all these tactics of what they're telling me, asking all those little questions in order to generate that sell. I get with that CPA, and guess what he tells me? Hey, brother, I got 3 more people just like him you could be helping. And I was all like, hold it inside, right? Just hold it inside. I know what I could do. I know who I could bring to the table. I already have those buyers, but it just starts with asking questions. And you could ask a lot of people have always been looking for certain unique product, and you just got to find them. They're all there. The
But
buyers.
you know what's interesting about this conversation, and I think this is where I felt it was finally a good time to bring you on. I'm glad I did. A lot of what you're talking about is, I think, the hardest part most agents face is having actual real conversations. A lot of us would rather go do YouTube videos or Instagram videos of me shaking my butt, right? It's not having the one-on-one conversations, going out, meeting people, talking to people, figuring things out, right? And I think
Yep.
that's where what separates people like you who've gone and figured this out versus the people who don't ever grow. I help mentor a lot of agents, and it's frustrating to me when I try to give information like this, like, hey, let me connect you with Martin. Oh no, I can't do that.
Yeah.
What do you mean you can't do that? Are you serious? Like, do you want to make money or not? Do you want to grow your business or not? Like, if you don't, you don't. That's fine. If you want to just make 100 grand a year selling a few homes, cool. That's fine. That's totally fine. But if you're telling me you're struggling and I'm saying go have conversations and you can't even figure out where to go have conversations, that frustrates me to no end because all you gotta do is go talk to people. Go where they are, right? So
No,
that's the
and
point of a lot of my questions. So go ahead.
yeah, no, and I love the fact that Jeremy brought this up. So Jeremy invited me about a month and a half ago to Circuit of America. He's like, "Hey, come track your car." I was so fucking intimidated. I was all like, "Man, I've never, taken a car over 130 miles an hour." But I'm just thinking about that. But then what I see Jeremy do while he's there, it's about the cars is the reason why I brought people together. So as far as the deals that you bring together, right? Land, hotels, apartments, assisted living, industrial, whatever it may be. There's a reason why you guys got together, right? But it's the conversations. It is the relationships. Man, Jeremy was a social butterfly speaking to all these people, and he's like, "You see that guy right there? He's calling it out. Yeah, that guy has 100 million people on his YouTube, or I don't know what, and he talks about food. Oh, you see that person? He sold his business to this. Oh, you see that person? He did this. It's so crazy. If I just like that's Jeremy's people. Like I don't mess with Jeremy's people, right? And plus that's Austin, so that's completely different.
I
But what
think
I
that the cool. Well, hold on. Why? And here's why I have no problem. And this is what baffles people about maybe other people that don't work at Real, right? Is that I find that the connections you make, if somebody else is going to make business dollars off of the connections you made, think about how that person will treat you going forward. You
yeah,
might not have made that business deal, but why did you not make that business deal? Reevaluate what you did wrong. That's
exactly.
so Matt Holm is a great friend of mine, huge producer in Austin. We do a walking group together. I'm around all these like really, really smart people every day because Matt invited me. Why? I don't ever ask for any business. I'm there just to ask questions and learn. I guarantee you, the more you put yourself around people to learn, I just wrote $150,000 check yesterday for a tequila company. The
Don't do it.
before that, I wrote $100,000 check for an AI company, right? So
Not AI.
I would have, well, dude, when I show you guys this app and what it's going to do for agents, you're going to shit yourself. It is so freaking amazing. But again, if you don't put yourself in the room, if you don't ask the questions, if you're not even there, and don't be afraid to connect your friends with people, celebrate those people. And like, that's why, like, Martin's asking me about apartments or a
Hotels.
hotel. The guy that was there at the track, literally on the walk the day before, is like, yeah, I got this guy who wants to buy a hotel. I'm like, oh my God, this guy. So connect
Uh-huh.
yourself. Don't do stuff just to get business out of it. Create the relationships, create the
Mhm.
conversations. That is so much more important. And this is the biggest problem we have as real estate agents. We're always being closing, right? No, ask questions. Be curious. Come from curiosity, and I guarantee you'll make more money if you're just curious.
Oh yeah, I love that. But yeah, no, I have to and see like we kind of put ourselves in a bubble. And like a show of hands, like who finds themselves in a small bubble right now? Like, hey, I'm okay with what I'm doing. And it's okay. But like the cool thing about it is sometimes you got to go to different cities to see what else other people are doing, right? You got to go and get into these bigger mindset conversations. And whenever you're doing that, you're all like, damn, I'm doing not too bad, right? Because you hear people that are, okay, I'm doing this, okay. But then you hear like Jeremy, like he doesn't represent Circuit of America, but these guys are doing massive like life changing like I told Jeremy, I was like, man, your 6-year-old you would be super proud of you, right? And he's me right now is super proud of me, right? But at the same time, like we have to ask ourselves too, what bigger things can we be doing? And it's like, hey, if we want to do a car condo like they're doing, like, okay, cool. Who are the people that we can pitch that to? People that are car enthusiasts, people that are also in construction, people that want to have a loophole in order to have these buildings pay, for all their toys, right? There's a lot of different ways to look at it, but it's those things that you can go to other like sites as far as for Jeremy. I went out there, checked out, I was like, man, this is very, very sick, right? It's kind of like for people here in San Antonio, it's kind of like La Cantera, but car version. It's like super unique, super different, which people are doing it. The only thing is, why aren't we not a part of it? Is it because I didn't make those connections, because I didn't have those conversations? And those are the valid things that you need to worry about, because somebody's doing it.
Right.
Somebody is always doing something great. Why not be great?
Why not be you? What other questions we got? We got a couple minutes left. What do people got? You can just unmute yourself, ask a question. Let's ask a few more.
Hey, Martin.
Hey.
Hey, appreciate you being on. Question I have, I guess when you're in a big metro like San Antonio, right? Like there's a lot of things that you can do. There's a lot of different directions that you can potentially go. But how do you make San Antonio small in the sense of getting what you want out of development? Because I'd imagine you're not focusing on the entire metro of San Antonio, right?
No. So and I told you I accidentally, fell into a lot of it. And there's nothing wrong with it. But I think is whenever my clients or the people that I'm working with, they have goals, dreams, aspirations, I become a part of it, because I want to bring their vision to life. Like I have a good friend of mine, he opened up 8 dispensaries in the last like now 10 months here in San Antonio, but his vision was very clear. It's either up to me of being a part of it or not, right? And at the beginning, I was working hard. I was getting shut down everywhere. So like I knew that it was going to be a opportunity, because I knew eventually like this was going to work out, but we had to go through a lot of no's in order to get one yes, right? And then those yes becomes easier because now they got a proven concept. So in the market that you're in, if you can narrow down exactly what you want to build, what you want to develop, and then you're going to get a ton of no's. You're going to get a lot of people that are just not necessarily, uh, you know, on your side or on your team or even interested in listening. But you can have so many different successes come, and it's going to make it so much easier. So one thing I tell a lot of agents, especially when they're looking at developments and commercial, is be very specific on what you can handle. Because I know I would not sell an apartment complex right now. I do not want it, because I know how much time, energy, resources, expenses is going to go into that, and I'm not ready for it. So
Yeah,
from
think about that too. Like if you know the people that would, now you refer. Boom.
Yeah, exactly. And there's nothing wrong with referring. I love it. But at the same time, those are also going to be like when you have a product to sell, those are also going to be the people that you can reach out to and be like, hey, do you know anybody that's looking for this? And be like, whoa, starting to think about it. I have this person, this person, this person. Now you create value for your sellers, right? If you're looking from a seller perspective, or also you could bring that for your buyers and be like, hey, I got somebody that was willing to buy this after you develop it, right? You built a shopping strip. I got somebody that's buying shopping centers. And those are great ways to like get those connections or those opportunities started. So, but I appreciate everybody's time. Hopefully you guys got some great value out of it. And then here, look, let me do this. I'll throw my phone number on the chat. So that way, if y'all have any questions, or even if you have a project that you want to pitch, just send it over to me and I could help you go through it, because it doesn't matter. Like the great thing about commercial, it doesn't matter where you are. Numbers are numbers. And if the numbers make sense, the deal makes sense.
I love it. Anytime I find a deal that I have questions on, I'm like, yo, Martin, what do you think? So, all right, everybody. I appreciate everybody this week. Again, every Thursday at 10 a.m. The replays, you'll get an email. So replays come through there, or you can find them on the YouTube channel, or just DM me if you want something. So we'll talk to you next week. Have a good one.